Well, hey there, everyone. It's Mrs. Estero, and I am here to teach your class how to write a body paragraph for an essay. Before we get started, I would just like to introduce myself to you. My name is Mrs. Estero, and I have an online teaching store called All-in-One Middle School. I was a teacher for 34 years. Teaching language arts was my passion. This is a mini lesson, so it's concise. You'll be very clear on what you should know by the end of the lesson. This presentation, along with guided notes, are available to print in my TPT store. I'll be sure to link that in the video description. If you are using the guided notes, you should fill them in when you see this icon. If your teacher lets you work with a partner, you will turn and talk in certain portions. I hope you find this lesson helpful. Let's dive in. Okay, let's talk about having a mentor text. It's always good to have a mentor text to refer to when learning skills. For this lesson, we will examine the song Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. We use this in writing your thesis and in your intro paragraph lesson, and we will continue to use it as we write our sample throughout this video series. If you haven't viewed the lesson on writing your thesis and writing your intro paragraph, you might want to go back and start with that. Your teacher may prefer for you to use a different mentor text. If so, when you take notes, just substitute what your teacher tells you to use. So you're going to pause my video and click on Gaston. It's about 3.5 minutes long. While you're watching, think of some of Gaston's characteristics. The link is in the video description, and you can also grab a copy of the lyrics there as well. We will discuss this video a bit later in the slideshow. So go ahead and click on Gaston. So why are body paragraphs important? There's no doubt that you have written essays, and if you have not, writing essays is something you will need to do throughout your academic career. You'll want a method to easily write body paragraphs so that you don't have to struggle every time you are tasked to write an essay. Your body paragraph contains all of the proof of your claim and thesis. In short, your body paragraphs are the heart of your essay because it is where you will state all of your proof, also known as text evidence. So your body paragraphs equal the heart of your essay. Okay, so writing body paragraphs, we have to get on board with this. When you write an essay, think of it like building a house. There are many steps to building a house. You have to obviously build certain parts before the others. For example, you can't build a roof without walls, and you can't do anything before you have a solid foundation. Your thesis and intro paragraph provided that solid foundation, and now you are ready to prove your claim. Today's goal is to understand that the job of your body paragraphs is to prove your claim with solid text evidence from your source in a way that your reader will understand. So, we're going to talk about the recipe of a good body paragraph. And we're going to notice here that our guided notes are starting. So if you are using them, make sure that you start jotting your notes down now. When writing your body paragraphs, it will help to have a recipe, which is a list of things that it should contain to make your essay flow in a logical manner. There are some different ways to do this, but here is one solid recipe you can follow to build your paragraphs. First, your transition. Second, your topic sentence. Third, your background. Four, your text evidence with citation. Five, explain. And six, conclude. And we're going to discuss each component of the recipe in the upcoming slides. Okay, so you need to first keep your thesis in mind. You should have your thesis in the front of your mind as you get into your body paragraphs. As a reminder, Here is the thesis formula that we talked about in that thesis lesson and in the intro paragraph lesson. So, by examining reason 1 and reason 2, it is clear that my friend is the claim. Okay, so here is an example that we will use in this lesson about Gaston. By examining how he fights and how conceited he is, it is clear that Gaston is rude. All right, so now you're going to try it. So if you remember, when we did the lesson on the intro paragraph, you were asked to introduce a friend and to turn that into a thesis. As a reminder, you're going to turn and talk and tell your partner your thesis about your friend. Use the formula and fill in the blanks. So the hint, you really want to know your claim first, which is a character trait or adjective. So you might be saying that your friend is dependable, um, funny, honest. Okay, so pause my video and turn and talk. If you're using guided notes, you'll fill them in as well. Okay, so here's part 1 of our recipe, which is your transition. The transition is the first word of your body paragraph. It is designed to show your reader that you are moving into a different topic. We will be working on a 4-paragraph essay, which means we will have 2 body paragraphs. The other 2 paragraphs are the intro and the conclusion. You will need a transition word at the beginning of each of your body paragraphs. Here are some useful transition words. So for body paragraph 1, to start, to begin, first of all, at the beginning of the story, and initially. For body paragraph 2, to continue, to add on, secondly, as the story continues, and furthermore. Let's talk now about our topic sentence. Your topic sentence is actually a transition word plus one reason of your thesis and claim. Here's a formula to help. Your topic sentence equals your transition word plus one reason plus claim. Here's your thesis reminder. By examining how he fights and how conceited he is, it is clear that Gaston is rude. So your topic sentence would be, to start, because that's your transition, by examining how he fights, which is your first reason, it is clear that Gaston is rude, which is your claim. Here are some tips. Be sure that you are writing your body paragraphs in order. Write about your first reason from your thesis first, then your second. You don't want to flip it around and go in a different order. As you're writing, you will stick to that first reason, to that topic. Don't write about anything other than your first reason and how it proves your claim. So now you're going to try it. Turn and talk. Tell your partner what your topic sentence will be. Here's your thesis reminder. You're going to do it about your friend, though. Okay? So you're going to tell them the topic sentence, which is the transition word, one reason, plus your claim. Okay? Pause my video and turn and talk. Okay, here's our recipe part 3, which is your background. The background in your body paragraph is to let your reader know what is happening in the text evidence that you chose. So, first, look at your text evidence, then give the reader some information so they know what is going on in the scene. This is not background for the entire story. You only want to introduce your text evidence. So you'll need to know your text evidence first before you can give them a background. So we're going to go to the next slide for information on text evidence, and then we're going to come back around and give the background to it. So part 4 of our recipe is your text evidence with citation. Even though you'll need to write the background first in the paragraph, you need to know your text evidence before starting. You'll want clear evidence of information that backs up your thesis. Be very, very careful not to put in information that is not related to your claim. For example, our claim is that Gaston is rude. Therefore, you'll need examples to prove this. Okay, we're going to continue with text evidence and citation. I have a little more information to share with you. You should also always let your reader know who said the quote. So, for example, you might say, well stated. When selecting text evidence, don't make it too long. You can use ellipses, which are these three dots, to take out unnecessary information if that is appropriate. You'll need to use proper citation and parenthetical formation. This is the author's last name and page number. No commas are needed. The period comes after the parentheses. So consider the parenthetical information part of the sentence and then put the period after. Even if there's a period in the quote, don't put it there, put it at the end. Okay? So for example, the author of Harry Potter, Rowling, her last name, 36 for the page number and period. Because in our example essay, we are using a song written by Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, we will use their names in the citation. For two authors, you put the and sign in the middle, right here. Also, for songs, you use line numbers instead of page numbers. So, for example, Menken and Ashman, 3 to 4 would be the line numbers, period at the end. Okay, now we need to kind of circle back to that background to give background to our text evidence, okay? So, reminder, our first reason that Gaston is rude is the way he fights. The text evidence that I'm using is no one fights like Gaston, douses lights like Gaston. In a wrestling match, nobody bites like Gaston. The parenthetical citation would be Menken and Ashman, 13 to 14. Those were the line numbers, period at the end. To introduce this information, we need to know that LeFou, who is Gaston's friend, is saying it and why to give the appropriate background. Notice that we do not need a background to the entire story, just this bit of text evidence. So here's an example. LeFou, Gaston's friend, and some townspeople have gathered in a tavern. Gaston is upset because Belle has rejected him. To make him feel better, they remind him of all of his special qualities. However, some of these special qualities aren't so complimentary. Okay, so you can see that I'm just setting up the scene so that our readers know where I'm going when I give this bit of information. Okay, so now you're going to turn and talk and tell your partner evidence of the character trait, which is your claim that you made about your friend. So if you said your friend is dependable, give clear evidence of that. Also, give a little background to your evidence so your partner is clear. I know that might sound confusing, so just follow these prompts. You're going to say, my friend is dependable, or whatever quality you're saying. I know this because, and here's a little bit more information. Okay, part 5 of our recipe is to explain. Your text evidence needs to be explained. I really think this is something that kids forget to do the most in an essay, okay? You can't just pop it in and let it stand alone there. You should be able to do this with just a few sentences. Here are some phrases to help you. What this means is, in other words, this shows, this makes it clear, this clearly demonstrates how, and as you can see. So the point here is to direct your reader back to your claim. Okay, so let's have a few reminders for that explain example. The text evidence example was no one fights like Gaston, douses lights like Gaston. In a wrestling match, nobody bites like Gaston. The reason? he fights. The claim, he's rude. So here's an example of how to this clearly demonstrates how Gaston will fight at all costs and makes him rude and ill-mannered. Even in a wrestling match, he's willing to bite people. Truly, only a savage without any class would consider doing this. All right, so you notice how I did this in 3 sentences. Okay, I used my sentence starter to help me and I elaborated on it a bit. So you're going to try it. You're going to turn and talk and explain how your evidence about your partner leads back to your claim. You're going to use the prompt to help you. So your evidence proves that my friend is your claim because, and you'll explain. Okay. Okay. Recipe for part 6, which is to conclude. You want your reader to know that the paragraph is closing, but it should not sound like the essay is over. Writing in conclusion is not what you should do for a body paragraph because that makes it sound like your essay is over. You should refer to your reason and your claim. You can change up the wording so your essay doesn't sound what I would call robotic, right? Like a robot is just saying the same thing over and over. Although you don't necessarily need a conclusion transition word, some of these words might help you. Therefore, given these facts, as a result, you can see why, and it is clear. So for my example of the Gaston essay, I could say, given the facts of Gaston's incessant fighting, it is clear to see that he is a rude individual. So you can see I just changed up the wording, but it means the same exact thing. So now you're going to put it all together. So what you're going to be doing if you have the guided notes is you're going to be giving it a color code. If you don't have all of the same highlighters as these colors, you could use colored pencils, you could underline or circle with some kind of a code. You want to make sure that you know which part is which. The only thing I want to point out to you is sometimes you need to add a little bit to smooth it out to make it sound like a coherent paragraph. So I added just a little bit here and I wanted to make sure that we know who said the quote, okay? First, I'm just going to read it straight through. To start, by examining how he fights, it is clear that Gaston is rude. LeFou, Gaston's friend, and some townspeople have gathered in a tavern. Gaston is upset because Belle has rejected him. To make him feel better, they remind him of all of his special qualities. However, some of these special qualities are not so complimentary. As Gaston is wreaking havoc, LeFou exclaims, "No one fights like Gaston, douses lights like Gaston. In a wrestling match, nobody bites like Gaston." Mencken and Ashman, 13 to 14. This clearly demonstrates how Gaston will fight at all costs and makes him a rude and ill-mannered. Even in a wrestling match, he's willing to bite people. Truly, only a savage without any class would consider doing this. Given the facts of Gaston's incessant fighting, it is clear to see that he is a rude individual. So now you're going to need to put this into action. If you are currently writing an essay, take these action steps to create your body paragraph. Transition, topic sentence, background, text evidence, explain, and conclude. And that's a wrap. Be sure to tune in for more Teach My Class episodes. You can also check out First Chapter Friday on my YouTube channel, where I'll read the first chapters of my favorite middle school novels. Hope to see you soon.